Hello students, this is Mr. Boyd, and in today's lesson we're going to look at combining operations with linear expressions. So in other words, we're going to look at using the distributive property and combining the like terms all in one. We may also find some expressions where we need to add and subtract. So let's go ahead and get started. So in today's lesson, your objective is you will be able to combine operations to simplify linear expressions. So let's jump right over here to example 1. So example number 1 says, simplify negative 2 times x plus 3 plus 8x. So let's go ahead and do our distributive property first. So we'll multiply negative 2 times x. And then we'll multiply negative 2 times 3. And then we'll just bring this plus 8x down and simplify that later. Okay, let's go ahead and finish our multiplication here. Negative 2 times x would be negative 2x. Plus negative 2 times 3 would be negative 6. Go ahead and bring this plus 8x down. Okay, now we want to examine and see, do we have any like terms? And we do. We have a negative 2x and a positive 8x. So we're going to rearrange this problem and put those together. Keep the minus 6. So the negative 2x plus 8x would be 6x. Signs are different on those two numbers, so I'm going to subtract. And the sign of the larger number is going to determine the answer. Bring down my minus 6. And 6x minus 6 is our simplified answer. So why did we use the distributive property first? Well, the reason we use the distributive property first is because we have to follow our order of operations. So we can't do anything with what's inside the parentheses because we didn't have like terms. We did not have any exponents. But then the next two items are multiply and divide, and then we want to add and subtract. So we want to multiply first using our distributive property, and then we'll add or subtract to combine our like terms. So let's go ahead and try another example here. So I'm going to do my distributive property first. So negative 3 times 4 would be negative 12x. I'm going to see this is negative 9. So negative 3 times negative sign is plus 27. Go ahead and bring down my plus 30x. Okay, what like terms do I have? I have a negative 12x and a positive 30x, so I'll put those together. Negative 12x plus 30x plus 27. Let's see, negative 12 plus 30, that's the same thing as 30 minus 12. Signs are different, so I need to subtract. Let's see, that's going to give me an 8 and a 1, so that's going to leave me with 18x plus 27. Okay. Let's take a look at another example. This one includes some fractions in it. Okay, so again, we're going to do our distributive property first. So the way I treat this one is I imagine that 3/8x is not there. In fact, you might even just stick your hand over it, cover it up. And then multiply 1/2 times 1/4. 1/2 times 1/4 is 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 4 is 8x minus 1/2 times 2. 1/2 times 2, let's make that a fraction. So that's going to be 2 over 2. And then we'll go ahead and put that 3/8x back in there. Now let's add these two together because they're like terms. Fortunately, we already have a common denominator. So our common denominator is 8. 3 plus 1 is going to give us 4/8 x minus, let's go ahead and simplify 2 over 2 as 1. And then I also noticed that I've got 4 over 8 here that can be simplified. So 4 over 8 simplifies down to 1/2 x minus 1. And the way I simplified 4/8 was I divided them both by 4 because that's the greatest common factor, which gives me 1/2. Why is the answer 4/8 x minus 1 not completely simplified? Well, because 4/8 is not the simplified version of the fraction, and we always want to simplify our fractions. Okay, let's move on to the next example. Looks like we've got another one that uses fractions. So let's go ahead and distribute. Again, we want to picture that this is not even there. So I'm going to just cross it out real quick. Then I'm going to multiply. Remember, this minus sign goes with the 1/4. So this is negative 1/4 times 2/3. So the answer is going to be negative. Negative times a positive is a negative. If you're still struggling with that, go ahead and put your triangle over here. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. So my answer is going to finish up negative. 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 3 is 12. And then we'll multiply here. A negative times a negative. It's going to give us a positive answer. And then 1/4 times 8 over 1. Well, 1 times 8 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. Okay, now let's go ahead and include that 5/12 a. Forgot my a here, didn't I? 5/12 a. And I see I've got some like terms here. Fortunately, again, my common denominator is already there. 5 minus 2 is 3, so I've got 3/12 a plus 8/4 simplifies to 2. And then we can also simplify the 3/12 by dividing by 3 on both top and bottom. And that's going to leave us with 1/4. So this would be 1/4 a plus 2. Okay, so here we've got one where we've got a couple of distributive property going on here and combining like terms. So let's see how something like this turns out. Well, again, I want to go ahead and use my distributive property to simplify the multiplication, and then we'll add any like terms. Okay, so number 1, we're going to use our distributive property. That takes care of our multiplication. Remember our order of operations. And then we'll combine any like terms. And that'll take care of our addition or subtraction. Okay? So to start with, I notice that I need to multiply 2/3 times 18x. And so let's go ahead and put that over 1. Okay, so 2 times 18 would give me 36. 3 times 1 would give me 3x minus, okay, let's put the 12 over 1. 2 times 12 would be 24. 3 times 1 would give me 3. Okay. Now the next thing I notice is I've got another distributive property problem going on here after this minus sign, but I need to see that that minus means that this is a -1. So we're going to distribute the -1 here. So when I do that, I end up with a -7 and a -6x. In a previous lesson, we called this the additive inverse. All right, let's go ahead and simplify our fractions, and then we'll see if we can combine any like terms. So 36 divided by 3 is 12, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay, so now let's look and see if we have any like terms. Well, I see I have a 12x minus a 6x, and I have a minus 8 and a minus 7. So let's rearrange this. 12x minus 6x, and I've got a minus 8 and a minus 7. When I do this first part, 12 minus 6 would leave me with 6x plus negative 8, negative 7 would be negative 15. Those signs are the same. We can also add the opposite here and see that it's negative 8 plus negative 7. And the last thing I want to do is clean up that plus minus sign there. So we call that 6x minus 15 would be our final answer. So here we have a similar problem in the check problem. So we're going to do 2/3 x, 2/3 times 27, and 2/3 times 45. We're also going to multiply a negative 1 times 4 and a negative 1 times negative 9. So 2/3 times 27 over 1 would be 54 over 3x, minus 2 times 45 is 90. 3 times 1 is 3. And then we've got a minus 4x, negative 1 times positive 4, and then a negative 1 times negative 9 is going to give us a plus 9. So 54 divided by 3 is 18. 90 divided by 3 is 30. What like terms do I have? I've got an 18x minus a 4x. Notice I include the sign in front of the number. And then I've got a negative 30 and a positive 9. In the next group, 18 minus 4 is 14x, plus negative 30 plus 9 is going to leave us with a negative 21. And we can simplify that further by saying 14x minus 21. Okay, guys, thanks for watching today's video, and hope that helps.